On his friends' his birthday toys and stuff, and they all dispersed and went different directions, and the guy just fired up on him.
A Dallas boy is recovering in the hospital tonight after the joy of birthday presents turned into the horror of a gunman's attack. This crime is almost unthinkable. A grown man shooting a young boy in the face.
It happened to this little boy last night. DJ Maiden had just turned 8. DJ is now in critical but stable condition at Children's Medical Center Dallas. This after police say he was shot by a man in the parking lot of his apartment complex. 46-year-old Brian Cloninger is behind bars. The arrest warrant says he admitted to shooting the boy to a witness. Ray Vieta is live at Children's after talking to family and friends. Ray, first, how is DJ doing?
Meredith, DJ is in critical but stable, and he is heavily sedated. His family is by his side. They are coping, trying to be strong for the little boy and his younger siblings. In the meantime, there are so many questions tonight. The main one being, how did an 8-year-old get shot at?
Unbelievable. I mean, I don't know anybody that could put it in words.
No words to describe how this grandfather feels. You see, his grandson's big smile, his spirit, has faded for now. His face is covered with a bandage. He's heavily sedated. His jaw will need reconstruction.
Just seeing him laying there like that, yeah, it kind of got to me a little bit.
Police say it happened around 6:30 last night. DJ Maiden's grandfather says the boy was collecting his toys when moments later there was gunfire. DJ was shot in the face.
Mother seen you out to gather your toys and, you know, somebody fired 2 shots at you. That's just not, I just can't put it in. We coping with it, you know.
46-year-old Brian Cloninger was arrested, charged with the shooting. An arrest warrant says Cloninger was found standing by his pickup truck. A handgun was found in the front seat. Cloninger, the warrant says, had told a witness he shot the boy.
And I heard the gunfire, and then DJ ran, and he ran on the logs right here. And then I said, DJ, what happened? Then he came to me and said, help me, TJ, I got shot.
DJ's best friend heard the gunfire and saw the boy running, jaw in hand.
He had ran to his house. He was able to make it there, so I flew to the house, and then his blood got on me. So all this is all hanging down and stuff.
And hasn't been able to shake that image since last night.
I'm mad and upset that the dude shot my friend.
This evening there is no word from police on a possible motive. The family tells me they had never encountered Cloninger until this happened. Cloninger, by the way, is behind bars. His bond is set at more than $2.2 million. We're live in Dallas this evening. I'm Ray Vieta, NBC5.
That's a horrible story. All right, Ray, thank you.
Oh, wow. Okay, last week, as you know, we had the father of Alfred Wright on, whose son was discovered in Hempfield, Texas. Alfred Wright is from Jasper, Texas. And the police gave up the search for him, and they had the autopsy listed as overdose. The father and a lot of the friends of the family continued to search for his son, and subsequently found his son 18 days later, about approximately a mile and a half from the scene. And if you weren't here last week, the condition that they found Alfred Wright in. Alfred Wright was a husband and a father and a physical therapist who was visiting a patient, somebody who needed his services. And his truck broke down, and he was found dead in Hempfield, Texas. They had listed the cause of death in the autopsy that the sheriff and the Texas Rangers and the people in Hempfield did as overdose, cocaine and I think meth, some sort of meth. Anyway, the father had a subsequent autopsy done, and it was discovered that Alfred Wright was discovered naked. His skin was peeled off of him. His eyes were pushed in, his ear was cut off, his throat was slit, his tongue was cut out, his teeth were pulled out. I forget the rest. But none of this was in the original autopsy. Flash forward to what we just seen in Dallas, Texas, where a 46-year-old white man Connolly is his name, shot a little 8-year-old black boy for no apparent reason in the face. He really disfigured him and traumatized everyone. As you know, this is February. This is Black History Month. It should be a lot more joyous, what we are bringing to you, but life is real. And these are the issues that confront us. These are the things that we still have yet to deal with and overcome and figure out a way around. Today my guest is Kareem. He's a community organizer. He was a former union guy. One day I'm going to bring him in and he's going to tell us the story about his activist work as a union rep and the madness that brought into his life. And we're hoping that Michael Grace from Community Cop gets a chance to come and sit down with us. We gave him a call last minute. He said he was on his way, so we're optimistic that he'll be here. But we're going to talk about this issue and other issues concerning our community, especially the issue of the wholesale slaughter of black people by, it seems like, just about everybody. The police, when they massacred a young teenager, Amali Graham, in front of his 6-year-old son and his grandmother, which is not reported nearly enough on. The Alfred Wright case, where they found that young man in the woods with his skin peeled off and his throat cut and his tongue cut out, and et cetera, et cetera. The 8-year-old boy, you know. This is Black History Month, so happy February. With that, if they have my opening queued up, we're going to run my opening, and when I come back, I'll be talking to Kareem, and we will be anxiously waiting an appearance by Michael Grace. Where the victim is now the perpetrator and the perpetrator is now the victim. And that just drives me crazy. All right, so we are back, and as I said before, my guest to my immediate right, camera left for you, is Kareem. He's a community. I think I was looking in the wrong camera. Maybe I'm a little despondent by what I saw. But Kareem is a community organizer and activist, as I said before. And we're going to be talking about Black History Month. He's a frequent caller on Community Cop, and he calls in on my show sometimes to give me what for, and to you know, make it known how he feels about issues that are coming down the pike that we are confronted with. February, as I said before, should be a time when we are all singing "We're a Winner." Instead, we are dealing with many of the same issues that we dealt with in the Jim Crow South. So with that, I'm going to say welcome, my brother. And
thank you, Brother Nat, for having me. And let me just say this here. We have a serious problem here in America. We always had a serious problem, and the problem is us. America don't know what to do with us, and this is a pattern of the same thing that's been going on against our people. These killings and stringing ups and hangings and castrations, they've been going on for over 300 years. The thing that we have to understand is we got to understand how to use the language that these people understand, and that way you will get some type of understanding, and both people will understand the difference between what they're doing and what you're going to do in return, and by doing that, that could stop a lot of this here. The thing is, the 8-year-old child who got shot, this brings me back to the 4 young black children in the Civil Rights Movement and the church that got bombed. These type of people are some of the most beastly acting people that I have ever seen. I mean, it's just unimaginable how they, you know, do this to a certain person because of the color of their skin. They don't attack us because we're Catholic. They don't attack us because we're Christian. They don't attack us because we're Muslim. That's what we got to understand. They attack us because we are black. And one thing that we got to do as a people and as a community, as a nation, we got to learn how to love one another, teach our children our history, thereby making it possible for them to love themselves rather than hate themselves. Because we got a problem with hating each other also. You know, it's a lot of things that goes on in our community that should be going on as far as black on black crimes. That's a serious problem. And the reason that is because we was, when we was brought over here in the slave ships, they conquered and divided us by splitting us up. And by doing that, they pitted one against the other. They called the so-called house Negro and the field Negro. And 300 years of that, what we call post-traumatic slave syndrome, is still in our genes. And we're working on how to get that together, to get that out of our genes. But it's going to take the whole community of people strategizing. It's going to take mosques, churches, and different other people in that mindset who can figure out what's the best avenue for us to go. We had great leaders like Malcolm. We had great leaders like Dr. King. We had great leaders like Marcus Garvey. We had the blueprint. It's just that we are suffering so much from the post-traumatic slavery syndrome for so many hundreds of years of that in our system that we're just caught up. And that's one of the reasons why we do the things that we do to each other. I just want to say this here. In order for us to really stop people from doing the things that they're doing to us, as far as killing us, we're going to have to understand that we're going to have to use the language that they understand. If you're speaking to a man...
Well, wait a minute, because that's the second time you said that, so I'm going to ask you specifically, what language are you referring to?
I'm saying this here as an example. If you're speaking German to a person,
right,
and the other person is speaking Japanese,
right,
you're not going to get no understanding.
Right.
My point is, what I'm trying to say is, Malcolm said the same thing. You got to use the language that they understand.
And what language would that be?
Oh, if they kill one of us, you got to do the same thing to them.
Okay. I just want to make it clear. I just want to make it clear.
That's the only, matter of fact, that's the only language that they do understand. Violence. This country goes into every other country in the world, and they kill people. They send drones in. They kill innocent people, but then they tell you not to be violent when you call yourself protecting yourself, right? Anytime someone kills people in your community, you have the right to defend yourself. So why are they going to tell you don't be violent, be nonviolent? Was they nonviolent when they went to Korea? Was they nonviolent when they went to Vietnam? No, they wasn't nonviolent. But they want you to be nonviolent because as long as they can keep you locked into that nonviolence, they can keep manipulating you and keep doing the same things that they've been doing to you for the last 300 years.
Now, in point of fact, violence is a tremendous weapon that is used, obviously. And you mentioned the 4 girls that were bombed in the civil rights. I happen to think that the little boy TJ is more monstrous, more savage, only because the little girls were almost collateral. They bombed the church, and whoever was killed was killed, whereas the little boy was sought out. I mean, he knew he was shooting a little boy in the face when he so in a lot of ways, in my mind anyway, others might disagree, that seems to be even more monstrous, but I'm not even sure if that's apropos since they're both monstrous acts. They use more than violence as a weapon against us. They do use violence. Violence is very, very effective, but they do a lot of other things. They use mind control or programming.
Manipulation of the mind.
Right,
Yes.
mental manipulation.
Yes.
They use economics. They use the decimation of family structure, the decimation of,
That's
you
right.
know. So when we talk about the language that they use, obviously we have to confront them on multiple levels. Also, what I believe what you're saying is accurate, that there is a level of slave mind involved that holds a lot of us back. However, that is not going to change and subside. So it requires us to carry on, to aggressively move forward in spite of whatever manipulations, mind manipulations that is used. How do we do that?
Well, first of all, I would say that from the civil rights on, let's just start from the civil rights on, right? I believe that they infiltrated our communities with drugs, and thereby allowing you to deteriorate yourself, because if you don't have a job, you're going to do something to make some money to take care of your family. By doing that, you set yourself up to go into jail. Then you become a revolving door. Then you go back into the being a slave again, working for slave labor, right? Because you're working for hardly nothing when you're in the prison system. Second of all,
well, no, let's deal with the first thing. You say if you don't have a job, you're going to do something. It seems that those are reactionary tactics, not proactive tactics. It seems like we do not deal with the fact of that we are living in an oppressive society, and it is going to be more difficult for us to get a job. We should be dealing with that issue from the crib. Instead, we don't deal with it until it is upon us. So, in point of fact, like they say, when you fail to plan, you plan to fail. There was a time when we understood that there was confrontation coming at us at all aspects of the game. Now it seems to me, you can agree or disagree, this is a give and take show, but it seems to me that we spend far too much time explaining why we are in the condition that we are in, and dedicate far too little time first of all, acknowledging the circumstances of our condition and planning to overcome that from the beginning.
well, Brother Nat, the part of the puzzle that you're not including in this here is the fact that this is 300 or 400 years of the same type of tactics that have been used against our mind, which is still in our mind and which have an effect on our mind, right?
Okay.
And this is the reason why they're able to manipulate us. Because how could you work a person for 300 years, don't pay them, treat them like a dog, right? Hang them, take their life, castrate them, do all type of things like this here, and then think that all of a sudden now, okay, well, you're free. So you're free now. So you're free, but you don't have no resources to do anything.
They don't think that. You think that. And whatever they did yesterday, they're going to do tomorrow. So my question is not whether or not it's been effective or even if it's premeditated. The point I'm making is that it is not apt to change. I mean, it is working. The economic system is working. We are the last rung of the ladder. We are below the ground that holds the ladder up economically. They're not going to change that. My question is, once you have accepted the fact that they have been doing this effectively for 300 years, that they are prepared to do it 3,000 more, my question succinctly is, now what?
Well,
Do you just accept the fact that they've been doing it for 300 years and say, well, they did it, they got us, and we just like take a licking and keep on ticking like they tell you when you go to jail, just
No,
take
sir.
it like a man?
No,
Or
sir, brother.
What do you
like I spoke earlier, I said that we had great leaders in our midst. Malcolm, Dr. King, Marcus Garvey, Adam Clayton Powell, amongst others, right? We got to understand that we have to make our own jobs, create our own jobs, create the economy in our communities, create the housing in our communities, and stop allowing other people to come in our communities, take over, right, and treat us like we're nothing, because we are great people. We are great people. We just don't know it. And one other thing I want to say is this here. Recently, a couple weeks ago, they just had the nerve to tell children in Queens that they could not write an essay about Malcolm X.
Correct.
Now, what kind of people are us to sit back and allow this to go on and allow people to dictate, for instance, Bloomberg and with his educational thing, the way, how could we sit back and allow this to go on and not have our history taught in these schools, in these colleges, in these kindergartens, like everybody else? You got to be out of your mind to sit back and allow someone to do that to you. We are the one that made this country. We are the one that built this country. If it wasn't for our sweat and blood, this country never would have been what it is today. So you can't tell the Jewish people that they cannot teach their children about the Holocaust and all this here. So how is the mayor going to tell us, well, you can't teach your children your history? Why? Because they know if you understand your history, that it's a possibility that it could change your mind and could turn this whole thing around, and all this craziness that's going on out here that they've manipulated us in with all these different games that they've been playing, we could overcome that. And until we understand that, we're going to stay in the same situation.
But when do you begin to tell your children? Because if you wait until they're in school, again, as insidious as the tactics may be, they are effective and never changing. When do you begin to teach your children? Do you wait until they're in school and they are told you can't write about Malcolm X? When do you accept the tactics of your adversary or your competition, or whatever word? Some words are too harsh. If you say enemy, they start hollering at you. If you say adversary, well, competition, your competitor. If you just allow see, I think one of the problems with the progressive movement is the progressive movement believes honestly, or it gets paid to tell you that it believes, that all you have to do is tweak the system. If you can just get people to understand, if you can get the politicians to understand, if you can get the masses at large to understand, the understanding comes with the fact that whatever that past is still prologue, that whatever went down is going to continue to go down until you change it. How do you change it is the question. And when do you begin to change it? Do you begin to change it when your child is of school age? Do you begin to change it after he's been in prison? Or do you start to teach from the cradle? It's easy. It's easy. You referred to post-traumatic slave syndrome. Yes. This was a book from an essay by Joy Degree, in a doctorate thing.
Yes.
But that's easy to do. You come up, you write your little book, and you say, "Oh, we got the slave mind," and you do a lot of little promos around the country, and they give you $5,000, $10,000 a whop, and you're a genius. Everybody love you. You got pretty braids and pretty brown skin. But that does not deal with the issue of, first of all, how do we confront the issue? None of this stuff that she wrote in her book is actually new. The only thing that's new is her terminology. Malcolm said field nigger and house nigger, but I mean, we've always known they wrote stuff about Willie Lynch. I mean, on some level, we've always known what the tactics were, what the efficacy of the tactics were, and we have failed to deal with the tactics themselves. We've talked a lot about the effect of them on us. We've talked a lot about what they're doing and that it's an abomination. My question is more geared toward tactics and strategy than it is rehashing what the problem is. Because in my mind, the problem's not going to change. He ain't going to change a thing. I don't care how much you know. So the question is, it was long-winded, but I'm going to get back to it. When do we begin to teach our children that they have to first rely on themselves, compete as if all the odds are stacked against them, that nobody loves them but their mama, and she might be jiving too, like B.B. King said? When do we begin to teach our children? Because it seems that if you wait till they're in school, if you wait till they're in jail, if you wait till they're in the street, it's way too late.
Well, that responsibility lies within you, me, and other people in our community. We must start teaching them, I would say, at least when they're in kindergarten. When they start kindergarten, or you could start maybe when they're 3 years old.
Yeah, but it would have to be before kindergarten, because once they go to kindergarten, somebody else got them.
Well, but I'm saying you could start at 3 years old, right?
Right.
And you can start telling them about the stories of what your people did and the empires that we had, and the different scientists and the mathematicians and different lawyers and things like that. But you must continue that. And one important thing that I think is very important is you got to organize organizations like in your church, smaller organizations that will sustain that and make sure that's ongoing. It's ongoing, and this is I mean, when I say ongoing, I mean in churches, in your school, and in your home. It got to be really put into their mind, whereas that will give them a better sight into seeing who they really are. And then people can't just come and manipulate their mind and tell them about what George Washington did, but don't tell them about what their leaders did.
See, I think one of the biggest problems that is inflicted upon us is that we are penalized if we acknowledge the fact that there is racism, that there are systemic racial tactics that will be used against us from the day that we are born, and we get chastised for using the race card. We get lectured about us being in a post-racial society because we have a black president, you know, or whatever they call him, mongrel, whatever. But the fact that we do not accept the fact that there are racial aggressive tactics that will be coming, that we will have to deal with all the days of our life, we believe that all we have to do is compete. But time goes to the runner. And if you look at the statistics, every single thing that we do, we are behind the 8 ball. That if we get a college education and he has a high school education, it's far more likely that he can get a job with a high school education than it is that we can get with a bachelor's degree. Him going to jail. Oh, good. And I got the master coming in. We're gonna plug him up and we're gonna get him. Michael Graves is here. I'm gonna tell it. I'm gonna make sure he sits his butt down here because I'm gonna tell he's here. And if you would go into the control room, Veronica will hook you up, and then we'll have Michael Graves, and we're gonna put a ribbon on Black History Month.
Yes.
But you follow my reasoning. The fact of the matter is that we are deliberately told that we cannot use race in the discussion, and by not using race, we ultimately make ourselves weak and susceptible to any and all things designed to hold us back, slow us down. Keep us locked in place.
Well, the question is this here. How could you not use race in the equation when the whole equation is about race?
Okay.
That's one of the reasons why they don't want you to use race. And they did it in the Trayvon Martin case. They're doing it in this the Alfred Wright case, right? There was a policeman that got shot 168 times in Chicago. They're trying to do it in that case. Right? And these are the reasons that they tell you not to use race, is because they want to keep you dumbfounded and dumbed down, where you are not able to put it together and be able to understand the whole parts of the puzzle, and then thereby being able to figure how to work that puzzle out. And this is something that they are masters at, conquering and dividing. How you doing, brother? Okay.
All right, we got Michael Graves. He's getting hooked up here. We're gonna make sure that he has some audio. While they're doing that, I'm gonna bring you up to speed.
Sure.
Obviously, this is the last show that we'll be doing on 30 Frames during the month of February, which is Black History Month. We just got through celebrating well, I don't know if celebrating is the word, but Malcolm X.
Well, I know that if this brother's here, I know Malcolm's gonna come up.
Yeah, that's the first thing that came out of his mouth.
Yes, sir.
You also are aware of the fact that Alfred Wright his skin was peeled off, his teeth was pulled out, his eyes was pushed in Texas, Hempfield, Texas.
Organs,
right, August, the whole 9 yards.
Right.
You know about the young man who was found in the rug in school, his organs were gone.
Right.
You know about the 8-year-old boy who was just shot in the face by a white man for no apparent reason. The white man said he did it. What we are talking about is not simply acknowledging these things, but finding ways that we as a people can not just deal with these issues, but move aggressively forward in spite of these issues. First, acknowledging that it's not going to change. The landscape is not going to change. Whatever tactics he's been using for 300 years, he's fully prepared to use them for 3 million more if they're effective. And if it ain't broke, why fix it?
Right.
That's pretty much where we're coming from. So hopefully your audio is up, and you can share some of your thoughts on.
Well, certainly I'm honored. I thank you for the invite here, and I'm doubly appreciative that we have our brother Kareem here, very strong warrior and somebody that's integrity is unquestionable. He's always there, and he's vigilant about the survival and the elevation of our people. Now, as you point out on African Heritage Month, this is a critical time where we need to develop a critical analysis of where we're at, and unfortunately, not to be the purveyor of doom, but it doesn't look good. The landscape, as you pointed out, does not look good right now. Unfortunately, we have been put in a position by white supremacy to look to someone else when we have these problems abounding. And unfortunately, we're in a situation now that when somebody is shot unjustly by either a white civilian or a white police officer, unfortunately, we look to so-called leaders, but unfortunately, these are leaders that we did not produce, even though they might have organic links to the black community. They were not selected by us to be our leaders.
Man.
Unfortunately, white people in power have selected them, and they do the bidding and their allegiances to those whites, and unfortunately now, every time something happens, whether it's in Ohio, whether it's in New York, whether it's in Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, it doesn't really matter anymore. When these unfortunate things happen on Florida, obviously Florida, man, Florida
Texas,
is replete
New
with all
York,
this stuff. Texas,
right.
Unfortunately, we look to certain leaders that have been bought and sold, and we know it. But unfortunately, we look to them because we see them so much on TV that we believe that they're going to be our saviors, and your savior is going to be in the mirror, because we have to look to build our own leadership. And I say, even a brother like Kareem, who many people might not know, I'm just saying that I would trust him more than the so-called people I see on TV every day.
Well, we talked about that violence is just one of the tactics used against us, and programming is a very effective tactic that's used against us. You made reference to the fact that the leaders that we look to are bought and paid for by those same systems that are put in place to keep us docile and ineffective. I submit that if he is hired to lead you astray and you are led astray, then he is an effective leader because he's doing what he was paid, he's leading you where he was paid to lead you. And that we're going to have to be far more critical in our thinking. We're going to have to be far more selfish in our thinking and look to how do we best improve our own community, then how do we best elect a token. But that's my thoughts. You want to chime in?
Well, brother, these people that are supposed to be our leaders, you can tell by their actions that they're not our leaders. And as Brother Graves just said, they are bought. And they mislead you, and a lot of our people don't understand that they're being misled, brother. You know, that's one thing that we got to take into account. A lot of our people do not understand that they are being misled. And I'm going to give you one example. You know, I don't apologize for something that I know is right, and what I say, I'll say the same to the same person. You have a lot of people that goes to the National Action Network, right? And now, the leader, Al Sharpton, is supposed to be a civil rights leader for all people and for everything that happens to our people. But if you really look at what goes on, brother, the only time they come into play is when one of our people get killed and they see an opportunity to make $1. What about the other masses of the people out there that's being all type of different racial things that's being done against them? You know, like some people, like I went up there when I first lost my job, right? I was up there for 2 years. The people is up there, it wasn't, I was trying to like just get some help and try to speak to the lawyer, Michael Hart and all of them. They don't want to hear nothing unless you got something to put in their hand, brother. But yet and still, they talk to the people and tell them, yeah, well, you know, the National Action Network going to do this and do that. National Action Network ain't going to do nothing but what they can do to get for themselves. And unfortunately, some of the people up there are in that same frame of mind because they don't understand that you got to want for yourself what you want for your brother. That's the only way we're going to be able to move forward. We got to be able to come together and strategize and use the mental abilities that we have to make things work for us. And until we understand that, we're going to be in the same situation.
I think it's possible, and Mike, you can chime in your thoughts on this. But I think one of the problems we have is that the young people understand the reality, but don't know how to deal with it. Older people, it takes them too long to accept the reality. And by the time they accept the reality, it's too late. Because young people, I mean, you can say that they're running wild in the street, they're selling this, they're doing that, but they understand, and they'll tell you, man, ain't none of them cats gonna do nothing for me but me. They know reality. They don't know how to deal with the reality, but they understand. National Action ain't gonna do nothing for me. Jesse ain't gonna do nothing for me. I got to go out and get it on my own. If people my generation and older was as prepared to deal with reality and find a more effective way of coping with that reality, of winning in spite of that reality that ain't gonna change. I mean, National Action Network ain't gonna change. You can talk about the National Action Network till you blue in the face. It's not gonna change. Jesse is not gonna change. None of the leaders that you refer to are gonna change.
Well, I would say to that, and certainly I understand what you're saying, and certainly I understand what Kareem said. The fact of the matter is, if we look historically, whether we look at the Nat Turners of the world, Denmark Vesey's, Gabriel Prosser's, Henry Highland Garnett, Martin Delaney, the young Frederick Douglass, they were all very young men at the time they started on this course. Bishop McNeil Turner, they were all very young men. And we should understand, if we develop that collective consciousness, then the young people, we need to move out of their way and let them move. Because the fact of the matter is, every movement, whether you go back to the Montgomery Improvement Association, they were led by young men.
Right.
Very, very young men. Guys were in their 20s when they started it off. It was an older generation of clergy that was there that would not move against the tenets of white supremacy. It was that young Dr. King and others. And I certainly respect the work of Vernon John, who they just would not allow to lead them. Vernon John and Edie Nixon and others. But it took a young new person there with other young ministers to really put it together to start breaking the back of white supremacy in Montgomery, Alabama. And so youth movements, whether it was SNCC, SNCC wasn't always behind the civil rights movement. Sometimes it was miles ahead, and the civil rights movement, Dr. King and all of them included, had to catch up with SNCC. SNCC was so progressive. They were young. A lot of them were young college students. So, so the youth is not, put it this way, a person's youth should not ill affect your capacity to lead. Now, part of leadership is being able to follow other leaders, because you don't have to reinvent the wheel. But if you see a certain situation, as to the major civil rights groups now, you can't get blood out of a turnip. If you see that's not what they're set up for justice, then you have to either develop your own network, or you have to find a way.
We got calls.
You have to find a way to get justice.
You inspire the phone. Okay, they're gonna put the phone. They're gonna put the phone on. We're gonna take some calls. I like what you said. I like the way you phrased it. In terms of breaking the back of white supremacy, which is markedly different from trying to get white supremacy to change. You know, you are talking about we taking an aggressive act to break the back of white supremacy, and I happen to think, on a personal level, that that's the only strategy we have that has a chance of success, because we can beg them to understand that they're bad, and if only they'd be good, the world would be better. But I don't see that happening. But when you get the call through, we'll take the call through. Obviously, we're running out of time, so I want to take as many calls as you want to. I'm not going to take any of them. I got two really smart guests, and we're going to let them field the calls.
Hello?
Hi, you're on the air.
Good afternoon. My name is Farad El-Shabazz. I just want to add on to what the brother just said, the tall brother. He was saying that the older generation has to get out of the way. This is true. I just came back from college, and what happens in college is all the deprogramming goes away, and then you come back home, and then you have a black nationalist kind of aura to you, and then your programmed parent will combat that with this color blindness philosophy, and so when you come back, the first hurdle you face through the system is your parent. So the older parents, the older people, I love the older people. They can teach us a lot, but they got to get out of the way. And the young people, they actually know the issues. You see them with their pants below their butt and all this. They know the issues. Trust me, even though they're following the system because they feel they don't have hope in the system. They know the quantum mechanic problems we have, the quantum physics, just through subtle things like black umbrellas, which is a subconscious thing with the black people. You know, I'm using them as a burden with the rain. So I got a black umbrella. I got the brown shoes. So it seems like I'm stepping on brown people's faces. And then now you see the younger generation combating it. They got the white shoes now. And they got, you know, so we know the issues, and we know it's not going to be changed overnight, so we're subtly combating this white supremacy.
All right, thank you, brother. I need to take another call because we're running out of time, but I agree with everything you say, and we want to take a few calls, and we're going to let the guests address the calls. So if you have another call, put the call through. And caller, you have to turn your phone all the way down. We can't even, like, waste time.
Tell them they
If
on the
the
air.
call, if the call is not coming through, take another call. Hello, caller, you on the air? Caller? Next.
Hello?
Hi, caller.
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air.
Hi, my name is Louise Burrow from East Harlem.
Mm-hmm.
And Brother Kareem said, I think you asked when do we start teaching our children?
Yes.
Well, I started teaching my grandson when he was 6 months. I would have tapes on, and I would have discussions about my families and whatever. So I started when he was 6 months, and he's 9 years old today. And also, I'm a retired teacher, and even though I had to teach my curriculum, I found time in my curriculum to teach our history. And I just took a chance if I was going to get fired or not.
Oh, beautiful sister, beautiful sister,
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you so much. We got a bunch of calls. I want to take as many as I can, but I love where you're coming from, and we're gonna address that. We got a couple of more calls. Caller, if you're on the air, chime in.
Good afternoon, Mr. Wood. How you doing?
Good afternoon. How you doing, brother? I'm
Good
fine.
I'm doing all right. This is Brother Rod calling from Harlem. Good afternoon to Kareem and Brother Graves. You're a couple of hours early, but that's all right.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
I just want
You're
to
a
say
day
this.
late. So there.
I just want to say this. White supremacy is going to be passed down just like everything else. It's going to be passed over from one family to the next and to the next and to the next. But what we have to do as people is not let psychological slavery be passed down from one generation to the next. And we got to rise up and instead of trying to wait for opportunity, go out and get opportunity. We are strong. We got a strong will when we band together. And opportunity, we have to go out and work with what we have. Nothing's just going to be handed to us. Thank you and good afternoon, gentlemen.
Thank you, brother. We got another caller. Put the call through if the caller's there.
Hello?
Hi, you're on the air, caller.
Hello?
Yes. Hi there, you're on the air.
I just wanted to say, stop calling those so-called leaders and organizations. And I agree, one other thing. I'm 82 years old. I've stepped out the way, but whatever resource I have, you voluntarily give it. You don't wait to be asked. That's the least you can do. And I admire all of you, and I agree with all of you and the previous callers. Peace and love to all of you, and may we all grow together, not individually of each other.
Oh, God bless you, caller. We got a couple of more calls. I want to get as many of them in as possible because I need to get the last word from my guest. So, caller, if you're on the air.
Hello. Thank you for letting me talk to you on your program for 30 seconds. Peace and love.
Oh, peace and love to you. Thank you so much. Michael, you heard the callers.
Yes. As to wrap it up, especially the 2 calls ago when the brother said about racism being passed down and for us not to accept things the way it's passed down. I use the words of the great Reverend Henry Highland Garnett. He said, let your motto be resistance. So resist, 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 while you organize, organize, organize.
Kareem.
Also, brother, I just want to say, Brother Malcolm said, do your best work. That's what we got to understand. We got to come together and do our best work because our best work is going to be what's going to change this. And one other thing, for the older sister, we will never allow ourselves to disregard you because you're a part of our people, and we need all of our people to make this work. So don't think that just because somebody said something about the old people got to get out the way, That's not exactly true, because they got to be a part of this equation. That's how we make it.
One of the things that was said, the brother called in, no, the sister called in, and she talked about her grandchild, and that she was a teacher.
Yes.
And she said that she started teaching her grandchild at, I think, what was it, 5 months?
6 months.
6 months.
That's right.
Your thoughts on that, because it sort of chimes in with what I originally alluded to, was the fact that we have to do this from the cradle.
That's right.
Well, obviously, when she retired, she was not dead. So, what's more valuable than a seasoned griot?
Right.
So we have a valuable resource in her.
Right.
So while she, all of her obligations with respect to teaching in the public school system might have been over with, she still can give so much back to our community. So, and just to be clear, when I said that those that are older need to move out of the way, I'm speaking first from a historical reference that so many movements, when Dr. King and Abernathy started doing what they were doing, as I said, they were in their 20s. So, and you have to remember, they was helping a sister who was a card-carrying member of the NAACP, Rosa Parks. There was no SCLC at that time. There was no Montgomery Improvement Associate at the time. They had to start something, and to do it, they had to move old thoughts, maybe some old people, old ways of doing things out of the way. And they did something very creative in saying that they would rather walk in dignity than ride the bus in shame. So that united them, and certainly later on we could talk about a Claudette Colvin and people like that who had the similar situations, and yet they didn't get the support that a Rosa Parks did. But again, I'm just saying that these existing organizations did not step up to the plate at that time. So young Dr. King and Abernathy had to usher in a new way of doing things, and it was dynamic. And that's not to exclude the great Adam Clayton Powell, who was ahead of everybody in terms of resistance and tactics, organizing the community and doing creative things around boycotts. The father of it all was, certainly the great Adam Clayton Powell, but the Montgomery Improvement Association took some pages from what Adam Clayton Powell did, and it proved to be successful.
Let me ask you your thoughts on this. When you talk about Black History Month, well, Black History Month, great black leaders have been commercialized to the extent where they only talk about one or two. And even the one or two that they talk about, they tend to squeeze all of the blackness out of them and make them more palatable to a commercial situation. It's easier to sell Rosa Parks if you make her just an old lady whose feet was tired and who really just, when in point of fact, Rosa Parks was a brilliant, dynamic, fiery leader, but that's not as marketable. Is it just my imagination, or do you find that they try to squeeze all of the blackness out of Black History?
Well, that's why I prefer to call it African Heritage Month, because first we want to put Africa in it.
Right.
As opposed to just saying black.
Right.
But certainly, Adam, the great Dr. King has been reduced to I Have a Dream.
Right.
They're not going to talk about why I opposed the war in Vietnam and so many other things that he did. Fiery speeches that had sort of a nationalist overtone to it, undertone.
And even the dream with little black babies and little white babies holding hands.
So I'm just saying, as opposed to that, I'm just saying, I would say that he's been reduced, and certainly this is all part of the tenets of white supremacy. The psychological part is to trivialize and marginalize your leaders, and so that now they can whip you. If you come out of a nationalist bag now, they can say, well, Dr. King didn't do it that way. Martin didn't do this. Martin did. They'll throw one of your leaders in your face, and yet these are the very people that fought against them, called them a communist, and ultimately killed him. Will now throw him in your face as to control your conduct and the way you comport yourself and how you organize your community. They're not in a position to tell us how to organize our people. So we shouldn't even be listening to them. But obviously, since they control the school system, they will change. If we didn't know any better, we wouldn't even know Adam Clayton Powell existed. So that's the whole thing with all of our leaders, and they should not use Malcolm to oppose anything that the Nation of Islam is doing today. But they do that to beat up on Minister Farrakhan. They'll use Malcolm. So I'm just saying that this is always the tricknology of those who oppose our people to use certain divide and conquer. Thank you, Brother Kareem. That's what they do.
We're running out of time. We might have one more call. Caller, you have to keep it like real brief. Chime in when you get a chance. Hello, caller.
Yes, Master Steve.
Hi, how you doing? You're on the air.
All right, thank you very much. Peace to all you wonderful brothers that I'm looking at. And the equation is that, you know, there's not one greater than the other. If we look at the progression, they all came to help the people. If we keep it like that, we'd be successful. And we were taught that there's no rocking chairs right now. It says that how do you quit your post in a proper manner? After you have walked your post in a proper manner and you've done it all the way, then you retire. Yes. But the seniors from the cradle to the grave, we are learning. And we have to impart. Satan has come in between the seniors and the youth. So we have to name the senses, because what we advocate, you know, will take them on miles ahead. You know, so that's very erroneous of the brother before speaking like that. TR did a little good correction, because you don't throw nothing good away. You got professors. Right. People go and sit up under their foot. They be up there as age, but they have that's one high order of knowledge.
We're gonna have to leave it there, caller.
Counselors, we have to give it to them.
We're gonna have to leave it there. 30 seconds to wrap this up. I got a minute, so 25 seconds for you, 25 seconds for you.
I just want to say, do our best work. Do our best work. Make sure you teach your children the history so they know who they are. And also, our young people, we got to embrace them more and bring them back into the fold, because the young people are our future. If we can't bring them back, we have no future.
30 seconds, Mike.
Those who know the power of prayer and believe in it, let's pray for a full recovery for our brother, Master Teacher, Lambe Brath, reinstate automatics, and I'm just honored to be here with not only Brother Nat, but Brother Kareem, brothers who give so much and do so much for our community, love our people.
I am honored even to have an opportunity to bring people like this to the equation, because we need them, we don't have them. They squeezed out the Africa of every other form of media we have at our disposal. We'll see you next week. I want to thank my brother Michael Grace for gracing us with his presence, and Brother Kareem, who is a dynamic warrior. Until then, we'll see you next week. Peace. We're out. Excellent, excellent.
Right on point. Right on point with it.